Nukazuke 101. Making your own rice bran pickling bed. That's something I'm going to talk about today, so stick around. Hi, my name is Sachiaki Takamiya. I am the author of Live Wiser, Not Smarter. Now, I have been sharing with you about Nukazuke rice bran pickles. Now, this fermented vegetables is so special because it contains butyrate-producing bacteria. So-called longevity bacteria. This bacteria was discovered abundant in the Centenarians in Kyotango region in Japan, which has 3 times as many centenarians as the national average. And Nukazuke is one of the few foods that contains butyrate-producing bacteria. So when it comes to probiotic to absorb butyrate-producing bacteria, there aren't many options, and Nukazuke is one of the few options available. And the question is how to obtain Nukazuke. You may be able to find one at Japanese or Asian stores or even natural food stores, but probably difficult. And even online, you can probably get one. And Amazon sells nukadoko, which is rice bran pickling bed. You need nukadoko to make Nukazuke. Nukazuke is a fermented vegetable, fermenting using nukadoko. So first you need nukadoko. But if you cannot get hold of nukadoko, then you have to make your own. And in fact, it is better to make your own. Just like natto making, it is always better to make your own because you get to choose the ingredient. You get to choose the type of rice bran, you get to choose type of salt. Any ingredient that you put in nukadoko, you get to choose. Okay, so I will share with you how to make Nukazuke, and this is the first video, and I'll share with you how to make nukadoko. Now, to make nukadoko, you need rice bran. This one. Now, if you cannot get hold of rice bran, you can use wheat bran or oat bran, as long as it's a whole grain bran. The idea is because butyrate-producing bacteria eat whole grain. Whole grain becomes food for butyrate-producing bacteria, and the rice bran is basically, the brown rice. When you polish brown rice, it becomes white rice, but the brown part becomes rice bran. So we're using rice bran in nukadoko, meaning we're using the feed or the food for butyrate-producing bacteria. That is why butyrate-producing bacteria is in nukadoko. Okay, so therefore I believe you can use wheat bran or oat bran or even like barley bran, whatever the whole grain that you have. But the best if you can get hold of rice bran, because that's how we make Nukazuke and nukadoko in Japan, and we don't usually use wheat bran or oat bran, so there aren't many examples of making nukadoko using other grain. So better if you can get hold of rice bran. The best thing is if you have a rice milling machine at home, then you just buy brown rice and then you mill the brown rice and you can get rice bran. Okay, so anyway, so you need some kind of bran, and let's say, okay, you need 500 grams of rice bran, and then the same amount of water, which is 500 milliliter. So if you're using 1 kilogram of rice bran, you need 1 liter of water, and use purified water, of course. And then you need salt, sea salt, 1/10 of the amount. So for 500 grams of rice bran, you need 50 grams of sea salt. And then basically those are the basic things you need. You need rice bran, water, and salt. Those are the 3 things you need to make nukadoko. However, on top of that, it is better if you have kombu and some chili peppers. And you need some scrap vegetables. Right? So you need rice bran, water, salt, kombu, chili peppers, and scrap vegetables. Now, there's one thing I have to say. I'm still a beginner of, nukazuke. Unlike natto, I've made natto so many times. I've made homemade natto so many times, more than 500 times or something, and I'm so used to making natto. But as far as nukazuke is concerned, I'm still a beginner. This actually, to be honest with you, this is the first time I'm making nukadoko, the pickling bed. So, I'm not yet expert, but I can still show you the basic steps of making one. Okay, so I'll show you how to make nukadoko. Alright, so first you mix rice bran with salt. So you basically pour salt in to rice bran and you mix them together. Then you add water, but little by little, not pour the entire water yet, just maybe half of it. And then mix them and see what happens, how hard it becomes, and if it's not hard, if it's not soft enough, then you need to pour more water. I need more water, so yeah, definitely need more water. I'm going to just put the whole water. Yeah, so once it becomes, like that, I think it's kind of ready. And then you start putting into a container. So that's a nukadoko container. I'm going to just put this inside like that. And then I put some scrap vegetables because vegetable would support the fermentation process. Because what's going to happen in the next maybe 2 weeks or so, we'll be fermenting nukadoko. We'll be fermenting this rice bran. And it will ferment just like that with just water and salt, but vegetable would support the fermentation process. But you won't be eating this vegetable. Those vegetables are not, nukazuke vegetables. So scrap vegetables are fine. So you just, use like a not needed part of the vegetable. And you might just put some. And then add more rice bran. And more scrap vegetables. And add more rice bran. And more scrap vegetables, and put the rest of komenuka, which means rice bran. By the way, we use komenuka, rice bran, a lot as fertilizers in gardening. So we often use komenuka in gardening in Japan when we grow vegetables and things. And then you make the surface hard like that, and then you add kombu and chili peppers. Those. So kombu just gives umami, it sort of gives flavor. So when the fermentation is done, when nukadoko is ready, you can take the kombu out. And chili peppers, you don't need to take them out, you can just leave them in nukadoko even after the fermentation is done. And for the scrap vegetable, you want to take them out maybe after 2 days and then replace with the new ones. So you don't want to keep the scrap vegetable for the entire 2 weeks. You want to take them out after 2 days and then change to new ones. So this is the nukadoko. But every day, every single day, you need to mix nukadoko, which I will show you using another nukadoko that I have. But this is the beginning of nukadoko, and then you will keep this for about 2 weeks. 2 weeks in autumn. Summertime between a week to 10 days, and wintertime 3 weeks to 4 weeks. So now it is the beginning of October in Japan, which is autumn, maybe about 2 weeks. And I think now we can keep it in room temperature, but in summertime you need to keep it in the fridge. Even now, it may be better to keep in the fridge depending on the temperature. If the temperature goes over 20 degrees, your room temperature goes over 20 degrees centigrade, then it's better to keep in the fridge. But if it's below 20 degrees centigrade, then maybe you can keep it in room temperature. So you see, this one is not so deep. Maybe it's better to use a smaller container for this amount of nukadoko. This amount of, komenuka, the rice bran. Because the idea is, I told you there are 3 layers in nukadoko. The top layer, the middle layer, and the bottom layer. And then different bacteria live in different layers. Top layer, yeast. And the middle layer, lactic acid bacteria, and the bottom layer, the butyrate-producing bacteria. So that in order to create that 3 layers, the nukadoko need to be quite deep. So if you want to use 500 gram of rice bran, better to use a smaller container so that the whole layer becomes deeper. And if you're using this size container, maybe better to use 1 kilogram of rice bran. And then you want to keep the nukadoko, the container clean. So using something like that to, or you can, because you're already using your hands, so you can just use your hands to, take all rice bran out of the edge and then put it. Like that. Then you put the lid on like that. So now I'll show you how to mix nukadoko. So I'm using the other one that I have. So this is nukadoko that I've been using. So this is okay, I'll show you the one that I made it, this one. So this one is much smaller, yeah, kind of a much smaller. So with this nukadoko, with this container, it's like this deep. So that is better. So for 500 gram of rice bran, you want to use a smaller container around this size. So inside is like that. So I've already put some vegetables inside, but it doesn't matter. You can always mix nukadoko with the vegetable inside too. So the idea is to mix the top layer and the bottom layer. So if you are mixing like that, it doesn't mean much. Yeah, you want to go right into the bottom of the container and then mix the entire nukadoko, like upside down. This is how you actually do that when you make a compost for gardening. Yeah, you want to mix the compost several times for the fermentation, to enhance fermentation process. In the same way, you want to put the upside down top and the bottom. This way you get to mix all 3 layers. In other words, you get to mix different bacteria, butyrate-producing bacteria at the bottom, lactic acid bacteria in the middle, and yeast at the top. You are mixing them so that the spread of these bacteria become even. And then when you finish mixing, again, you just make the top flat and then wipe all extra rice bran at the edge. And then if vegetable inside, you want to put them under nukadoko. Like that. So you want to do this once a day during the next 2 weeks. So the next 2 weeks will be the fermentation period, and you want to mix nukadoko once a day. That's it. That is how you make nukadoko. Okay, so to sum up, you need 500 gram of rice bran and 500 milliliter of purified water. So the same amount of rice bran and water, but 1/10 of salt. So if you're using 500 gram of rice bran, then you'll be using about 50 gram of salt. And then you need some scrap vegetables, and if you can, use kombu and chili peppers. And for the scrap vegetable, better to choose the one that is not so watery, little sort of hard vegetables such as carrot, daikon, radish, eggplant, that kind of thing. So from now on, you can keep this in room temperature if the temperature is below 20 degrees centigrade. But if the temperature is above 20 degrees centigrade, it is better to keep it in the fridge. And so it takes about 2 weeks for the fermentation process in autumn. In summer, it takes about a week to 10 days. In winter, it takes about 3 weeks to 4 weeks. And every day, you want to mix nukadoko. You want to mix top and the bottom upside down. And then you want to take the scrap vegetable after 2 days and replace with new ones. And you do that every 2 days, every 2 or 3 days, depending on how hard the vegetables are. Yeah, let's say you do it every 2 days and for 2 weeks. Then I think nukadoko is ready, the fermentation process is done. Then you can start doing nukazuke, meaning you can start fermenting vegetable using this nukadoko. But I will show you how to make nukazuke, how to ferment vegetables using the nukadoko in the next video. Okay, so thank you for watching. Again, my name is Sachiaki Takamiya, the author of Live Wiser, Not Smarter. If you like this video, please give me your thumb up and subscribe to my channel. And please leave your comment. Have you ever made nukadoko or nukazuke before? Thank you. Well, I will see you in the next video. Live with you, Ikigai!